going to be looking at the iGear MGT-01 Delicate Warrior. And yeah, I wasn't really sure about this guy when they first talked about it. I thought it was just like a redo of that TRNS-01, but iGear's version. And so I never picked it up when it first came out. And I saw some pictures and I said, I kind of want it. And you know, some of the iGear stuff has been pretty decent lately, so I kept wanting it more and more and more and more, and I finally just caved and bought it, thanks to the magic of a sales thread where I sold a bunch of things. And wow, am I glad I bought it, because it's amazing. Everything about this says higher production values. Now, if you've been watching my reviews for a while, I did have a TRNS-01 review when I got her, like a year ago, a little less than a year ago. And yeah, frankly, I liked her at the time because it was RC and it was before the iGear one came out, but it had a lot of flaws. The paint was like brushed on, it didn't really feel too great, and the video is generally a little bit more positive than I think it needed to be, because I guess the buyer's remorse of spending, it was like $65 or something like that to get her, and ultimately it was a little bit disappointing. This one is not disappointing at all, and I wish I had spent that money to go to this instead. That being said, I felt I needed one of the TRNS toys to compare this to, and so I used some extra money that I had from the sales thread, and I picked up Medic. Now, the RC version is not really available on the stores anymore. You can't find them for a good price. In fact, they're commanding about $120, which is what this one's going to cost. And this, I'm telling you right now, is a piece of junk comparatively. We'll get to that after. But everything about this is higher production value. Even when it comes to the box, you can see the size difference between them. This one here is just like a matte finish. This is like a glossy, you know, very reminiscent of what you would see in the toy store back in G1 time. You know, it wasn't this, you know, this looks like it's a cardstock put through, you know, I guess a higher resolution printer or something. It's really not very impressive. So let's get these out of the boxes here, because there's no point keeping them in. And pull her out first. And this one has a lot of problems, and I'm not sure if this is going to show up on the screen or not. I can't see it on the camera, but like right over here, this one, unlike my RC version, looks like it was airbrushed, but it was airbrushed poorly because I can still see the white plastic through it. That being said, this is actually better than the RC because I don't see as many paint lines. There's a couple right here, but the pink was really badly painted on, and I gotta attribute that to the fact that green is easier to put on than pink is. Before I keep going, this seat right here, I had this sitting on my desk the other day. I was actually putting some super glue on, or some nail polish actually, on the joints here because her legs are horrible. And I picked her up and the seat had fallen off. So nothing happened to it, it just fell out. And that is a pretty big sign of you should be careful. It's not a very good toy. Now let's comparatively take out the iGear RC, because this is her review anyway. So we open that up, we get the stand, we get this packet of stuff here, and inside you've got this, it's like a plastic card actually with not a very good computer render of her, but what can you do? And on the back, I guess you got stats and stuff, but it's all in Japanese or Chinese. It says it's made in China, so it could be Chinese, but I don't read it. You also get these, well, I'm not sure if you're supposed to get 2 sticker sheets, or mine just happened to come with them because they're identical, but you get a sticker sheet, but I'm not going to put them on because I think she looks pretty good without it. And then inside here, you get, of course, RC herself, who's very nice. The only painted plastic this time is, you know, on the windshield where it's painted clear, and then the seats are painted a brownish color. Everything else, well, the wheels, most of it is cast in the proper color, which really makes this pink look a lot better than this actually ended up pulling it off. Now, unlike the TRNS version, the guns can't store in the vehicle mode underneath, like what happens here where she's holding her guns, but that's okay, because these guns are super duper small. The TRNS version rolls pretty nicely. The iGear one rolls, but not nearly as nice, because the way it transforms, the piece of her leg kind of touches these wheels, but I don't spend any time rolling my Transformers around, so that's okay. If you want, you can put her into like an attack mode, where you take her guns and you just kind of peg it in on the top up here. And you can do that if you really want to. Personally, I like it better with it off. Now this here, which has been a topic of controversy with some people, it's just your typical, you know, it's a stand just like the Gundam stands here, but, you know, shaped a little differently. Perhaps inappropriate to some people, but whatever, who cares. So you just stick it in the base, and we can get to that later. Now, before we go on to the figures here, again, like I said, production values. Here is the instructions for the TRNS. Just black and white, printed on thick grade paper. Yeah. Now when we get to the iGear version, you got nice colored instructions. You know, it just feels a lot nicer. It looks a lot nicer. So there's just more time and effort were put into the iGear version. Which to me says a lot about the product. But obviously the biggest part is going to be dependent on how the toy itself feels. Now, for comparison purposes here, you can see that the iGear one is a little bit bigger. It's also a little bit wider. And for heights, it's quite a bit thicker too. So you get a lot more toy out of this. This is actually a lot closer to a deluxe scale Transformer, whereas this is actually more in line with the Scouts. You know, here's another third-party guy, and you can see the size is really very Scout-like, whereas this one is a little bit bigger, more towards the deluxe size. Then we come to the plastic quality, and this quality actually feels better than the Fans Project quality. Like, and I think Fans Project has like very good feeling plastic, but this flat out feels like it's a Hasbro toy. I mean, there's no question about it. Now, this is die cast. Everything else, I believe, is plastic. There might have been some die cast joints, yeah, right here. But, yeah, it feels good. It looks good this way. This, the whole entire bot, except black pieces, were cast in white and then painted, which makes this suffer. And the plastic quality is just super cheap. In fact, if you've ever built a Gundam model kit, this plastic actually feels less high quality than this, and this is always feels like a lower grade plastic than your typical Transformer toy, because, you know, it's just a hollow shell that you're snapping together, and that is totally what this feels like. And when we look at the car modes here, you know, you obviously got the leg seams here. Whether they show up or not on video is questionable, but this one, it's so much more apparent that the panels are there, like things don't quite line up right, and that's really what's going to end up being the major downfall of this toy when we get to it. But let's not delay any further. Let's get this done. Yeah, I'll transform this one first because we're going to compare her. And like I said, I put super glue on the knees, or nail polish on, clear nail polish on the knees, and a couple other places just to try to get her to peg in tighter. And you also see there's some remnants of the sprue on some of these pieces here. Again, it feels super cheap. So start by rotating her feet down. She's got these tabs in here and a lock there. When you kind of bring it down, they'll clip in on both sides. Then take her hands, fold them out, and then take the inner piece of them and fold those out. Now, take the top part of the car, kind of drop it down, flip her head around, and lift it up. And this whole assembly is going to fall back here. And you're going to drop this down. And it's supposed to have little tabs on the side that these are going to peg in. And then tabs down here that's going to peg in. And if you've ever owned one, you're going to figure out real quick that none of it actually tabs in properly, which is a huge problem with this toy. So, actually I gotta move this a little more. I put some nail polish on this to try to tighten that up, so hopefully it'll hold better, because it's very poorly held together. Alright. And you can see I'm kind of struggling here because things don't want to hold. And you can move her head. Her head is on a ball joint, by the way, so you can turn it left and right, but it's really hard to do. The neck is nice though, I guess. The little pistols, they are removable. Just to show you the size difference. You can see why you can't store iGear's pistols on there. This is much nicer than this is. Anyway, put it back in. And then you come to the arduous task of trying to figure out how to make her stand up. And this is why I put the super glue on her legs, because her knees kept wanting to flop about. And she's probably still gonna struggle. She's very back heavy. So, and let me put her in an action pose for you, because you know that's what we like to do with our stuff, is make it look cool, right? See if I can pull it off. There you go. There's your action pose. Let's drop the camera here. Oops, caught on the desk. That is as much action pose as you're going to get out of the TRNS toys. And you can see you have upper arm swivel. It's on a rotating joint and a kind of like a weird ball joint. Elbow, and that's it. Down here you got knee, you've got the rotator here. It can kind of go in and out like that. That's about it. That is your posability, and I'm just gonna lean her against the box because that's as much of an action pose as you can get out of her, because she's almost impossible to balance. Now, I expected this RC to have the same problem because she comes with a stand, but we'll get to that. So what you're gonna do here is, it starts off a little bit similar, that you rotate out these hands, and then once you rotated the one hand out of the way, you take the legs and you pop them out, and then you can take the other hand, which is folded in and tucked into this part of the car real nicely actually. You can take that and you can rotate it on out, and then rotate that up, and then just kind of fix all the joints here so they look right. And you can pull everything out, rotate this down, pull all that out. Then what you're going to do with the top of the car is kind of pull it forward a little, and that's going to work this clear joint here. And you twist it around and twist your head around, get your arms in the position, and right here is where there's a huge improvement in the iGear mold. Now, this is a ball joint, like a double ball joint basically. This skirt piece here actually rotates with the leg, giving you more motion. And then they cut a part of the leg out, so instead of having those super wide hips, when you rotate this in, they come in nice and slim. Makes her look a lot nicer there. So, get her arms ready like this. And then this is the trickiest part, because this pink piece inside the car is actually a joint that you kind of have to fiddle around with. And you want it to go up into the back here. Otherwise it's not going to sit right. And then that should sit right around her shoulder height. And then drop her head on down. And it should fit right in front of the arms. And then finally, adjust your feet. And this RC, well, once I get everything set up to look how I want it to, I suppose. This RC doesn't have many problems standing on her own. As you can see how less fiddly that was. And I mean, you can get her into a fair variety of poses. Pardon my lack of ability to pose things. But you can pull off quite a range of moves because of the articulation she has. And this is even without the stand that she comes with. You know, and adding the guns doesn't really change her posability a whole bunch. I had her sitting on my desk looking like she was shooting something. You know, like, you can't pull off a pose like this with that. Now, what you have in terms of articulation is incredible. First off, the ball joint's much better on the head than that one is. You got the shoulder because of the transformation, but it's also on a ball. You've got the upper swivel, you've got the elbow, you've got a wrist ball joint here, so you can kind of pose her hands a little, as you can see. So you got that. You don't have any waist. Like I said, the skirt part will go up and down, but it's also on a ball joint, so it gives you a lot more range of motion than you're getting out of that. You have your knee, which is a double joint, so she can get a little bit of a thicker bend there. And then you have the ankle, you have a toe swivel here, and this little armor piece here is also articulated. So that gives you the options to kind of pose her how you want. You know, very similar to the Gundam leg armor, I guess, in that sense. And like I said, it takes 2 seconds to get her to stand. And she looks really good with her gun. So, you know, because of her posability, you can get some really nice poses out of her. Something that the other RC certainly can't be claiming to do. See, I mean, you saw how hard it was for me to get her to stand like that, and I can get her to stand up pointing her guns much more impressively. And the guns just look so much better than these. I mean, they're tiny little things, and you know, this feels so much like a classic Transformer in that sense. Like, you know, the gun's a little bit over the top and ridiculous, but hey, whatever. That's how it's supposed to be, right? So, yeah. Now she doesn't want to stand because I keep bumping her with my hand. So, let's put this one back, and I dropped her again. Now, like I said, she does have this stand, so you can do other posability. Now, I couldn't figure out where this went, because these holes are by far too big, and when you lift it up, there's nothing there. And the instructions actually don't tell you, but what you got to do is remove this little piece here that forms the back of her car, and then you should be able to plug the stand on in there, so you can make all kinds of variety of poses, whatever you want to do. So if you want to make her, you know, pull one of those classic, like, Gundam coming down for a landing type pose, you could do that, whatever you want to do. So it gives you the wide variety, and you can, of course, if you just want to put her on a shelf and make sure she's not going to fall over, you can, of course, just kind of adjust it in such a way that, you know, it just provides stability for her. So, and the pictures, I think, of this made it look, you know, worse than it really is. It's a good accessory. Now, I think the only gripe I have about this toy is these two chest holes, and they didn't make much sense to me why they were there until I realized that it pegs this in. So, it's not a huge problem. This RC certainly has a problem plugging everything into car mode. This one doesn't, so it's kind of a small sacrifice to make the overall alt mode look a little bit better too. But yeah, this RC is a winner, and if you have the money or considering it, pick her up because she's amazing. I mean, I'm sad I didn't spend the money I spent on TRNS-02 MGT-01 the first time to get this one. And if it wasn't for the review, I don't think I would have picked up this one again. So watch a sales thread, because she might be in it. But this one will be staying on my shelf forever, because it is an incredible RC. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Those of you out there who buy stuff based off of my reviews, I'm sorry that I'm going to be setting your wallet back $120 or whatever. But hey, it's worth it, and I think you'll ultimately enjoy it. So anyway, this is T2RX6. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I'll see you next week. And yeah, so take care, guys.